Welcome to 101. I'm Greg Bassett, your host from the Salisbury Independent newspaper. It's the biggest day of all here at PAC 14. The sheriff is in the house. Mike Lewis, Sheriff, Wycomico County. Welcome, Mike.
Good to be here, Greg. Thanks for the invitation again.
You are the man. When they say the man, you are the man.
I don't know about that, but I'm loving life.
How's it feel to be the man?
It feels great. I have I have a great group of men and women that I work with every day. And honestly, I don't go to work every day. I do what I do every day, something I've enjoyed for the last 35 years of my life. And to go to work every day and do what I do, it's like having a front row seat to the greatest show on earth. It really is.
When I came back as the editor in 1999, our sheriff's office was pretty good, but it was not the professional county police organization. It was still a tie back to the old days. And you, sir, have really changed this force into a completely different dynamic. Was that on purpose, or did that just happen based on what was needed in the community?
Well, I certainly think it was needed in the community, but it was by design and by purpose. I selected a core group of men and women to be on my command staff, and they knew what my vision was for Wycomico County. My predecessor had done a wonderful job as sheriff of Wycomico County for 5 consecutive terms.
This is Hunter Nelms.
Hunter Nelms, absolutely. He
Old
had done an
state
absolutely
police
wonderful
trooper
job.
guy.
Yep, former trooper and former chief of the Delmar Police Department
Right.
prior to that, and was called to the bedside by the sheriff at that time, and told him that he had a terminal disease, and he was going to ask that Hunter be appointed sheriff of Wycomico County. That sheriff, by the way, was John Walt Baker.
Right.
And John Walt Baker had summoned Hunter to his bedside, and the governor appointed our Hunter Nelms as sheriff of Wycomico County, and then he would run for election, and was elected, and would then run another 4 successive terms. And he served 22 years as sheriff in Wycomico County, and did a fantastic job and laid a great foundation for me to walk in and take over. But philosophically, you know, everybody differs a little bit, and I had a vision for what I thought the Wycomico County Sheriff's Office should be in this county, and how important it was for me to try to work on that. And I told my constituents what I wanted to do when I first ran in 2006. And I can honestly say in the last 12 years, I think we have come full circle, and we are moving in the right direction. Violent crime is way down here in Wycomico County. Property crime is up, but violent crime is way down. You rarely hear about the homicides and the home invasions that we heard about when I took over in 2006.
Right.
So I can honestly say, as you said, I think the perception of the Wycomico County Sheriff's Office has changed dramatically in the last 12 years. And I'm very proud to work with a very core group of professionals that have brought a full service law enforcement agency back into Wycomico County.
Hunter got it like out of the courthouse and not just delivering summons.
Absolutely.
And being a road patrol.
Absolutely.
But the sheriff's office never had the respect that the troopers had, or even the city of Salisbury. Mm-hmm. But you guys might even be the most respected now in terms of being the most professional of the 3 groups that are out there.
Well, thanks for that, Greg. But I do hear that a lot in our community, what you just said. We are very well respected. All law enforcement agencies should be respected, but I do think the Wycomico County Sheriff's Office has come full circle now, and I'm very proud of the men and women that I work with.
One of my deputy friends years ago said that, you know, we need a new building, we need a new headquarters. I was like, you are never getting a new building. Just forget about it, because they're going to leave you where you are forever. They'll buy you new cars, you know, they'll build a new jail, but they're never going to build a new office for the sheriffs. You're getting a new office.
We sure are. And, you know, I got to tell you, I thank our county councilmen and women for that. We've been working on that for a number of years, but it was our county executive, Bob Culver, that has made our vision come true. And he has worked very closely with us on a number of issues, including our new building, our new design for the building. And the land has been acquired. We were looking at 2 different parcels. We were looking at the large parcel behind the Shorebird Stadium,
right,
which was my first choice.
Right.
And then we were looking at a couple of other parcels here in Wycomico County. But our county executive wanted to be physically responsible. We were able to get the current location for about $7,000 cheaper per acre than what we could have gotten there behind the Shorebird Stadium. And we've settled on this new location. It's been acquired. It's been settled on. The sign is in the ground, and we sent out the request for qualifications last week for our new building. And then we'll send out requests for proposals, and we hope to break ground in the fall or early next spring. Either way, we're going in the right direction right now in this new building. Very excited about that.
Right. And it's not just a luxury like to make you better about your job. It's a needed thing.
Greg, I'm so glad to hear you say that. This is not a luxury at all. This is an absolute necessity for
You're in a
Wycomico County.
you're in a farm building right now.
Absolutely. We're in an
The
old steel building.
the walls vibrate when the wind blows.
It certainly, and not only do they vibrate, but the ceiling continues to leak. We just spent tens of thousands of dollars to have the roof on this building waterproofed, and it's still leaking.
Yeah.
And we have to cover things with plastic. Even in my own office within that building, I have to cover things with plastic and set trash cans up to collect the water when it rains heavily or we have a storm that comes through. And you can't operate like that.
Right.
We've outgrown the building. We only have about 13,000 square feet in that building. We're going to go from 13,000 to approximately 36,000 square feet. The sheriff's office has grown leaps and bounds in terms of a criminal investigation division. We have a warrant futures unit that we work with the U.S. Marshals on. We have a child advocacy center here in Wycomico County, which is housed downtown.
Greatly successful and needed and appreciated in this community.
Absolutely, Greg. And you know, anytime we interview and interrogate these child predators, they are brought to the Wycomico County Sheriff's Office, where we have the state-of-the-art recording equipment and interrogation rooms, which is essential for prosecution here in Wycomico County. So yeah, it's much needed. I'm very grateful to the councilmen and women. I'm very grateful to our county executive, but most importantly to the citizens who have supported our endeavor this whole time.
And location's going to be out on the west side. You'll be able to get on 50 and 13 in 10 seconds.
Seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be right off Naylor Mill Road, just off of Route 50 on the west side of Salisbury. And we'll be able to respond very quickly to calls for service. As you said, we can access the bypass in seconds, and we can access any location in the county and be there in a very quick manner.
You're just reelected. How many terms is this?
This is my fourth four-year consecutive term, and I couldn't be more grateful to the citizens of Wycomico County for entrusting me with this tremendous amount of responsibility.
Is it awkward not having anyone run against you? Because you don't get to brag about yourself in the same way.
Well, you know, Greg, you said something. I got to tell you, my office, my immediate command staff, they would like to see a challenger because they know how much we have accomplished in the last 12 years, and they want to put that out there. You know, and I certainly, we live in a democracy, and I welcome anybody who thinks they can do a better job. For God's sakes, there are certainly much better people out there than me. And if you think you can do a better job, by all means, step up for the citizens of Wycomico County and run. Because this is not an easy task. This is not an easy job. It's a tremendous amount of responsibility. I tell people all the time, you know, we have the authority to restrict one's freedom, their basic freedom of liberty. But we also have the authority to take a human life, and that's a tremendous amount of responsibility. It's more important today than ever before because law enforcement's being challenged at every step of the way. I'm sitting in my home just last night, and I got a call about a North Carolina trooper that had just been shot down in Wilson County. I was called from a buddy of mine in Wilson County who was very upset. And then I got a call from the sheriff down in Halifax County, which neighbors Wilson County. They border the counties, and he was very, very godly man who just doesn't understand the attack on law enforcement today, so he was very concerned.
Yeah, you know, when I'm out as a citizen and I see an officer pull someone over and you see the officer walk up to the car, my stomach just starts churning because, you know, just that confrontation is about to happen. And I'm so conditioned, I guess, from TV, just thinking something bad is going to happen. And you see the officers and they're just doing it completely professionally. They're not even, they don't seem agitated at all. You know, they're not, you know, and I don't know how they do that because I would be terrified every time I would approach a vehicle.
You know, Greg, that's why I continue to teach and train today. I was in Westchester County, New York, just last week in the Mount Vernon area, Chief Barbara Duncan's old stomping grounds. And I had 17 of her police officers in the class as well as hundreds of other police officers. And I teach traffic stops, and I teach how to approach a traffic stop. You'll never see me walk up on the driver's side of an automobile. I teach passenger side approaches. Most violators, good and bad, expect to see their police officer walk up on the driver's side. But that's what I call the fatal funnel, walking into the fatal funnel. That's where all violators prepare themselves for your approach. So I teach a passenger side approach, but that is by far the most dangerous part of our profession today, are traffic stops. The traffic stop last night in North Carolina, that's what it was, a traffic stop that resulted in the trooper, his car being shot 12 times through the front windshield before he ever got an opportunity to get out of his vehicle. 12 bullets went through his front windshield. He was shot in the face, he was shot in the skull, and these are very challenging times right now in this country, but traffic stops are a very dangerous part of our profession.
I was telling you before, I've been on jury duty, and been in the courtroom while the jury's being selected. And what is new since the last time I was in that situation is how many questions there are about whether you can trust the police. And people who stand up, and very many of them are diversity people who say they can't trust the police. And it's very alarming to me to see it actually rubber on the road type situation, not a philosophical discussion. Very concerning. How do you feel about that stuff?
Well, it's very hurtful to me, but I certainly understand. In every profession, there are a small amount of individuals that give us all a bad name. And I can tell you the overwhelming majority of the police officers I've worked with in my career have been 100% professional and 100% trustworthy.
Yeah.
But there are a small, minute amount that go astray. And but it's in any profession. It's in any profession.
And it's hard when you're given a power not to use it.
You better believe it is, and not to abuse it.
Yeah.
Not to use it and not to abuse it. It's very, very difficult because, as I said earlier, we do have a tremendous amount of authority, and that's authority that is given to us by our community, by our citizens, by our constituents. And I tell people all the time, man, my God, do not betray the citizens' trust in our authority to do our job.
That's amazing. Nothing, when you became sheriff, the law enforcement community was so fragmented. You had the sheriff's office had never gotten along with the Salisbury city police to a degree. State police were sort of out there. You had a state's attorney with some erratic behavior. And you were trying to navigate through all those forces as the new guy. Now you're the senior guy in all this arrangement, and it seems like there's a real group that really does the right thing in terms of trying to protect us now compared to how it was.
You know, there was a time when we had all this organized crime against a disorganized law enforcement. Law enforcement agencies who did not want to work together for one common cause. As you said, you had the city police that disliked the county police. You had the county police that disliked the troopers. You had the troopers that disliked everybody.
Right.
I've been there. I've been on both sides of the fence.
Right.
So
You are a former trooper.
absolutely.
Right, yeah.
I'm a retired Maryland State Trooper. I was
Yeah.
there for 22 years, and I still admire and respect the Maryland State Police tremendously. That's where I got my start. And but you're so right about that. Now we have a very cohesive relationship here in Wycomico County. Just last Friday, I did a traffic stop on the Route 13 bypass, headed back to the office, and smelled the odor of marijuana coming out of the car. And before I could ever call for a backup, I looked over my shoulder, and there stood a trooper getting out of his car, walking up to me on a traffic stop. And he was a criminal investigator. He was not in uniform. But I never even called for a deputy to back me up because I had a trooper right there to back me up when I searched the vehicle and recovered
Right.
the drugs and the pipes. So that's the kind of relationship we need in this county. It's the kind of relationship we now have in this county. And listen, there are times we all don't get along, but we have to work above that and look beyond that to satisfy what we need to do for the citizens here in this county. And we are on the right track. Couldn't be any better.
It didn't come up this time in the election, but one of the things that comes up in the county elections all the time is that if you were going to redesign Wycomico County from scratch, you would have a county-wide police department. You wouldn't have maybe Salisbury City Police or Fruitland or Del Mar. It would be Wycomico. Is that a direction that we should go with, or do you like the idea that municipalities have their own police forces?
I will tell you this. I'm very receptive to that idea, to having a county police department. But jurisdictions and municipalities do not want to give up that authority. They don't want to give up that autonomy over their police department. They can pick the phone up and say, hey, this is what I want you to do today. With the county police department, you can't necessarily do that. But I'm very receptive to a county-wide police department for Wycomico County. However, there needs to be accountability, and that accountability should be an elected official who oversees that county police department. Historically, county police departments are headed up by a county police chief who's appointed by the county executive. If in fact Wycomico County chooses to go to a county police department, which I'm receptive to, and I will work with the stakeholders in this county to make that happen, if that's their desire, I will certainly make that happen and work with them to make it happen. But I think that the person heading that up should be chosen by the citizens of this county. It should be someone with experience in law enforcement. Do you know right now in the state of Maryland, an elected sheriff can be a plumber,
Right.
can be an electrician,
Right.
can be anyone. And you don't want to assume the position of sheriff in this county and know that all your citizens have faith and trust in you if you lack law enforcement experience. You cannot go into this blindly. This is a profession that if you lack experience, you lack training, and you lack knowledge in the Fourth Amendment and one's constitutional right against unlawful searches and seizures, you can be on the hook civilly very quickly if you don't do things properly.
Just help explain something to me. People say all the time, why do these sheriff's vehicles have to cost so much money? They don't understand why you can't get a $20,000 car and put it on the road. You have to get a $60,000 vehicle, has all this equipment. Walk me through that so people understand this.
Yeah, I'm glad. It's a great question.
Yeah.
We were purchasing, and we purchase new vehicles. Not every year, but most every year we purchase new vehicles. We're hoping to get more this year.
They've been doing like 5 to 7 for you.
Normally 5 to 7, sometimes 10 or 12.
I think they hurt you last year. I think they promised
did.
you 10 or 13.
They
They
did.
can
we
come through.
ended up getting 8 vehicles last year. We asked for 15, we got 8.
Yeah, I apologize to county council. They're very sensitive about this. They don't want to be blamed for it, but that's what happened.
I can tell you, police vehicles are an exception to the rule. They have to have heavy duty alternators, heavy duty generators. We typically have vinyl floors because we have, as you can imagine, a lot of vomiting, a lot of urination in our patrol vehicles. We have bloodborne pathogens. We have blood on our seats. We prefer vinyl seats. We prefer vinyl floors, easier to clean up. But these vehicles go through a lot. They have to go from doing 10 to 15 miles per hour right now up to 130, 140 miles per hour at the drop of a hat. And once we get that notification that we have an armed robbery in progress, we have a home invasion, we have an active shooter situation, which we rarely have here in Wycomico County, or we have an accident with serious injury, we have to respond and get there very quickly. And it's a lot of wear and tear on these vehicles, but most importantly, it's the equipment that goes in these vehicles. When I came on the job as a trooper, all we had are radios and emergency lights.
Right.
That is it.
Right.
That's it. Today, and that was back in 1984, today, our Wycomico County Sheriff's deputies, in addition to having their police radios that monitor all law enforcement in the county, which we didn't have that 35 years ago, they not only can monitor and switch over to each individual agency in their police cars, they have mobile data terminals. They run on all their own license checks, all their own wanted checks. They scan the licenses in their police cars. It populates everything on a computer. They push a few buttons and they print out their tickets and warnings now with printers in the car. They don't write anything today. Same way with their police reports. Back in the day, we wrote all our police reports in the cars. Today, these police cars, we have mobile data terminals. They have workstations in their police cars. They have in-car cameras. My deputies have in-car cameras. They have body-worn cameras in addition to the in-car cameras. We have stalker radar units with antennas mounted front and rear. We have laser units in our cars. We have stop sticks in our cars. There's so much equipment in these vehicles that we call them EPVs, or enhanced patrol vehicles. They're fully equipped, and it costs us about $58,000 per vehicle to get them ready to go out on the road. That's the purchase of the vehicle, equipping the vehicle with all the equipment, and I'm going to put it out there. We have trunk vaults in all our vehicles to lock our guns in. These are trunk vaults to lock our rifles, to lock our pistols in. That's just while we're working. Those items are removed when we get home. But while we're working, we have vaults built in these cars for civil liability purpose. You can imagine being in a courthouse for court and someone breaking into your car. So there's a lot of equipment that we install in these vehicles to protect Wycomico County from civil liability. The cameras will be one, the in-car cameras, the body-worn cameras. And so it's very important that we have these resources. If you expect the deputies to do their jobs, we need to give them the tools to do their jobs.
Yeah, and it's not gold plating. It's stuff you all need to do your jobs in this modern environment.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know, Greg, when I travel throughout the county and I show our citizens what I have in my vehicle, which my vehicle is unequipped with a fraction what my road deputies are. I don't need all the bells and whistles. My deputies need that. But when I show them what few things I have in my vehicles, like rifle racks, they're in awe. They're like, that is awesome. Every car should have that in there. Every deputy should have that in there.
Right.
So it's important that we continue to do that and move in that direction.
You've shocked me here in the last 2 years as the opioid problem has gotten more attention. My law and order sheriff, I just knew he would say, let's arrest everybody. If they know they're going to go to jail for this, they won't do it. That's not your attitude at all.
Well, your old law and order sheriff would have said that. You're exactly right.
But
you know me,
said,
Greg.
But you said we can't arrest our way out of this.
We cannot. If I've learned nothing else, we'll never be able to arrest ourselves out of this problem, this opioid crisis. I got such a heartfelt email yesterday from a woman here in the county who lost a dear friend over the weekend to an overdose. And she had just been discharged from detention center last week. And she binged over the weekend, and it appears that that's why she passed away. At least her email reflects that, and I'm very familiar with the case, and I believe that to be the case as well. but it's an issue that we're working on every single day. We are not going to surrender. We're not going to wave that white flag and say, you know what, we're done. We have to continue to chip away at this crisis every single day. But when I was in Westchester County, New York last week, I asked an audience of 200 plus police officers, what is your number one problem up here in Westchester County? And everybody, universally, the opioid crisis. And that is just outside of New York City, where you have all the crack, now methamphetamine, powder cocaine, and still opioids. It's our number one issue up there. And it affects us all. It affects us all.
And you've been to the source. You've been by helicopter down to South America and seen the poppy fields.
Greg, I was down there for a week with the State Department and the DEA, and quite honestly, I will be traveling to Mexico next month with the DEA and the State Department to address this same issue. And we're actually going into the Sinaloa Valley, where Al Chapo ran his entire organization and remains on trial right now up in Brooklyn, New York. So this is an opportunity. I was asked to go, and obviously I'm going to seize that opportunity because it's very important to bring that knowledge back to this region of our country and educate others on what's going on down in Mexico. Mexico remains the number one source country in the world for illegal narcotics. And unfortunately, we Americans only make up 7% right now of the world's total population, but yet 68% of the world's total drugs are consumed here in the United States every year. So Americans have an insatiable appetite for narcotics, and it's because of our wealth. It's because of the disposable income we have. And where there is a desire, there's always going to be a means to get it to us. And unfortunately, Americans desire their illegal narcotics.
And while our violent crime rate is way down, our property crime rate stays.
Absolutely.
And it's based on the drug thing.
100%. You know, we apprehended, deputies here in the county apprehended 3 suspects that were in the, they had burglarized 30 plus cars last week in the Rustic Acres area of Wycomico County, a very rural area of our county. And when deputies responded to the area, they saw a taxi cab leaving the area at a high rate of speed with occupants. And now this is 3 o'clock in the morning. So while a couple of the deputies started investigating these burglaries of these cars, one of the deputies ran down the taxi cab and stopped it. And sure enough, each of the occupants in there had backpacks. They were dressed in dark clothing, and they had stolen property from all 30 plus vehicles. And 2 were juveniles, 1 was an adult. But this is something going on every single weeknight here in Wycomico County. I see it taking place in Fruitland, see it taking place in the city when I read the briefings. And we formed a task force to address these, what we call rogue and vagabonds. But in fact, they are burglarizing people's cars. The common denominator, most of the time, not all the time, is the vehicles are left unlocked. And in this particular case last week, 30 plus cars, the guy said, we didn't break into any cars.
Right.
We simply opened the cars. If they were unlocked, we went in and we rifled through the vehicles and took what we could take to sell to satisfy drug addiction.
Right.
That's why they do it, to satisfy their drug addiction. It's the same way with shopliftings or department stores throughout Wycomico County. Shopliftings at the local convenience stores, they are stealing to sell these small items to get enough money to buy their next fix.
Do the officers like wearing these body cameras, or have they come around on it?
I think they were resistant initially, but they have come full circle. And I can tell you a recent arrest of an individual, as you know, here in Wycomico County, that was running for public office. On social media, that individual had said some very disparaging comments about our deputies and had alluded to the fact that there would be a lawsuit pending. And I can tell you when that individual and her attorney saw the body-worn camera footage, it was a plea that came very quickly.
Yes, as a citizen who watched that, my jaw hurt because my mouth was hanging open so much for the entire duration of that. And your officers performed perfectly.
Absolutely. And
perfectly.
You know, Greg,
and they were being baited so many times to cross over, and they never wavered.
You know, Greg, when I watched that, I called my command staff in and we watched it together. And I was taking notes on a legal pad. And I then called each individual deputy and thanked them for the high level of professionalism that they exhibited on that one particular case. There are many, but that one particular case, they did a phenomenal job, as you well know. And then I sent them an email, how much it meant to me as sheriff to know that they were armed with not only body-worn cameras, but the in-car camera that Corporal Hamilton had in his vehicle when he arrived on the scene was very compelling evidence as well. And it served to exonerate these deputies of any wrongdoing whatsoever. And it certainly allayed the concerns that the public might have had as a direct result of the social media post that went up following her arrest.
Right. I had no idea the cameras work so well, first of all. And I was just stunned by it. I really was. And that's what I was thinking of. Like, do these officers like this, or do they, or this like, gosh, I'm glad I had that camera on that day because there's no questions about what happened.
No question about it. And there's no doubt it better professionalized our agency. We know we're on camera.
Yeah.
And that's what I've always loved about in-car cameras and being one who has been an advocate and proponent of in-car cameras in my entire career. I was one of the first 5 troopers in the entire state of Maryland to ever get a camera. I was the only one in the entire Eastern Troop east of the Bay Bridge, and they gave me a camera, put one in my car because they anticipated that I would be involved in a deadly confrontation working on a Route 13 drug corridor.
Sure.
And I was told that before they put it in my car. You're being selected because of the work that you do and that the high-risk traffic stop that you're making with regularity. If it happens, we want it captured on camera. And then I used the camera to my advantage and realized that being on camera was nothing more than my arena or performance for the courts, for the judge, and for the juries. And what a powerful piece of evidence, most non-biased piece of evidence we're ever going to have.
What can citizens do to help you with your job, to help make things better in the county and support your deputies and you?
Well, it's a great question, and we were talking about traffic stops a while ago. Please understand when you get stopped by law enforcement, you're not being stopped arbitrarily. You're being stopped for a reason. Oftentimes, it's a reason that you have no idea why you're being stopped. Right now, every day with regularity, I'm seeing expired tags. Tags expired in November and December of 18, and here we are in mid-January now.
Yeah.
So it's our job to bring that violation to your attention. Oftentimes you don't know, but we have 2 choices. We can issue a warning or we can issue a citation. I think what's most important for every citizen to recognize is attitude is everything. If you are cordial and polite and professional to my deputy, you can guarantee the same response back. That's going to be reciprocated to you. If it's not reciprocated to you, it's something I need to know about. Don't become argumentative on the roadside with the deputy. Let me know. Let us deal with it. That's why we're here, to handle these types of incidents and or calls. But please understand, deputies' jobs are very difficult. They have no idea when they stop you that you've been involved in a domestic with your wife or husband this morning or your significant other. We have no idea if you've had a bad day, you've lost a loved one overnight to cancer or to an accident or to homicide. We don't know what's going on in your life, but you don't know what's going on in our lives either. We have a job to do. We have to take enforcement action. So please try to be cordial, be professional, and that hopefully we reciprocated. If it's not, I need to know about that.
Yeah, I got stopped in Worcester County just the other week, and we were on the highway, and he said, let's pull over here into this parking lot. And I knew the deputy from Worcester County. So we're talking, and then we had to call something in. It was a screw up with my license, when I renewed my license. But anyway, so I got out of the car and was standing there by the car, and we talked some more, and then we socialized a little bit. And he said, by the way, don't ever, ever get out of a car at a traffic stop. You should know better. You know the rules. And I was like, is that a rule? I was just trying to be so... Never get out of your car at a traffic stop. But I missed that.
Sure.
Somehow I didn't know not to do that.
Absolutely. It obviously raises our concern immediately when someone gets out
Right.
of the car. We don't want anyone to get out of their car. It's obviously a concern to us. It's also a safety concern to us. But I know from experience that a lot of criminals want to get out of their vehicle because of what they have in that vehicle, and they want to distance themselves from that car. So I see that a lot. So immediately raises my flags. Why do they want to get away from that car immediately? That raises my flag. But the number one concern is our officer safety concern.
Give me your email address. I email you all the time. You respond right away. I know you like to engage people.
Absolutely. My email address is on our website, as you well know. I'm on Facebook. I'm very active on Facebook. When you emailed me the other night, I welcome the opportunity to communicate with any of my constituents here in Wycomico County. And that's very important. I need to be accessible. My office needs to be accessible. And I've got a core group of men and women. I might not respond to you, but one of my commanders will respond to you. I will forward that request to them because I might be dealing with something that requires my immediate attention. But someone's going to respond to you within hours. So you can rest assured on that. So I'm very grateful when you email me and we were able to arrange a meeting.
He's Mike Lewis. He's our sheriff of Wycomico County. He is the man. Don't forget that. He is the man. And we're thrilled to have him on here today. Thanks for being here, Sheriff.
Thanks for allowing me to be here, Greg. Thank you so much.
Thank
God
you.
bless you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'm Greg Bassett from the Salisbury Independent Newspaper. Another edition of 101 right here on PAC 14.
First Shore Federal is proud to support PAC 14 and one-on-one. We'd encourage every business to support PAC 14 and pick a program and support it, and let's make a difference.